To relieve crowding on existing lines, we have purchased more trains. There's a fleet of 13 new trains that are being delivered for the north-south and east-west lines in 2014, of which 4 have already entered revenue service. So these trains allow us to immediately insert more trips during the peak periods to provide additional capacity and shorten the wait for a train within the limits of the existing signaling system. Remember, the existing signaling system limitation is 120-second intervals between trains, and in some instances we are not able to do that further, but in other stretches we can do so. So as more trains arrive over the next few months, we will continue to inject more into the system, targeting especially the crowded stretches for the morning peak. And then also we of course have more resources to increase the evening peak capacity. Just as importantly, the larger train fleet will also allow the operators to intensify their maintenance work to prepare the older trains for resignaling and to upgrade them more quickly. From next year, 42 new trains will join the Northeast and Circle lines, and this will increase their existing fleets by about 60 to 70% respectively. I think what it will mean is that in 2015, we can gradually look forward to more comfortable, less crowded rides, and shorter wait times for NEL and Circle Line commuters. Across the network, we are also requiring the operators to increase train frequencies under the tightened OPS that I mentioned earlier, so that by the third quarter of this year, passengers traveling on the north-south, east-west, and northeast lines generally will not need to wait more than 5 minutes for trains to arrive, except for the very early morning and very late in the night periods when train ridership is extremely low. And similarly, the waiting times for CCL will also improve to less than 5 minutes across most of the day when more trains are delivered in 2015. For residents in Bukit Panjang, I would like to share that the first of 13 new trains that you see there is arriving and will be ready for service in the fourth quarter of this year, and all of them fully delivered and deployed by the middle of 2015. And that should increase the existing fleet size by about 70%. We remain on track for our rail building plans. Last December, we opened Downtown Line Stage 1. In the coming years, by mid-2016 and end 2017, we will open up Downtown Line Stages 2 and 3, as well as extensions to the north-south and east-west lines. And for Punggol residents, the Punggol West LRT will open in the middle of this year. As these new lines open, I think what we will see is that crowdedness on the existing stretches of the network should improve as we decant some of the current commuters onto the new lines. So, mid-2016, residents along the Bukit Timah, Bukit Panjang, and some parts of Bukit Batok will be able to ride the DTL2 directly into the city. And 2017, those living along the Bedok, Ubi, McPherson stretch will likewise be able to use Downtown Line 3. And hopefully, we will see a lessening of the load on the east-west lines. And as the Thomson Line, Eastern Regional Line comes up towards the end of the decade and early into next decade, we will see improvements also along the Northern Corridor. Some academics have pointed out that the key difference between our MRT system and those of cities like Tokyo, New York, London, and so on, is that ours don't seem to have much redundancy, which means that the impact of an unexpected train disruption is disproportionately large. And I agree with them. A denser network with more interconnections will provide more alternatives for commuters to explore in the event of a disruption. Well, the London Underground took about 150 years, and the New York City subway about 110 years to get to where they are today. And if our rail expansion goes according to plan, in about 15 years, our rail network density will be comparable. By 2030, our public transport system will be much more extensive and much more accessible. And we will have some 280 train stations, about double the number that we have today, scattered across the island, and 8 in 10 homes will be within a 10-minute walk to a rail station.